friend. Welcome to Holistic Moms. I'm your host, Shan. Today, I have an amazing guest on for you. This is a friend, a spiritual mentor of mine. I've known this woman for many, many years, most of my life, and I'm having her on to have a conversation with me about her amazing ministry work that she does. So the Project Foundation founder and director, Patrice Perrone, is an entrepreneur, a creative, an activist, and a thought leader. Over the years, she has started up several businesses and has also served in many aspects of Christian ministry. She has devoted her life to helping others find freedom and live in their God-given purpose. She is a beauty expert as well, has started her career in the beauty industry. You'll hear about that, has always worked in ministry in some aspect, and she now has this amazing project called the Project Foundation. And please listen through to the end where you can learn how you can support the Project Foundation and its amazing work in a very time-sensitive way. So listen through to the end of this conversation and you can get involved and be an amazing partner with them. So without further ado, here's the conversation with me and Patrice. So you want to pursue wellness and make sustainable change in your life? Get out of that rinse cycle in motherhood? But how? You have no time for you. You have no energy for you. And you don't even know where to start. Listen, I get it. I'm going to share how one simple, scientifically proven tool I use will increase your ability to reach your goals by 400%. What? That's crazy. I know. And add my secret sauce to that proves you are 95% likely to be successful in whatever goal you choose. Yes, I have the tools to help you. God taught me these simple strategies that only take minutes to seconds of your day. Schedule 1 hour for you. I know it's hard to even find an hour sometimes, but make it during nap time or rest time, or even if a kid interrupts, that's okay. This 1 hour will pay dividends because when you fill your cup, you can overflow to your children, and that's what matters most. Mama, you feel like you have no time for you and you are empty. You are. Schedule this hour and we will find time for you and get you filled up. Go right now to www.theshanwright.com/coaching and let's do it. Hey mama, are you stressed by the lack of time in the day to do all the things? Are you feeling disconnected from God, your husband, and even your kids because patience and presence seem out of reach? Do you want a healthier body, mind, spirit, and home, but overwhelmed in where to start? Hey, I'm Shan Wright, daughter of the king, wife, mom to 4, RN, wellness coach, and I know very well what it feels like to want to live well, but about to lose it with my very blessed, full life. After realizing I can't pour from an empty cup, I tracked my way to whole body wellness and so much peace. If you are ready to cancel the stressed out life, learn tactical, intentional strategies as a mom wearing many hats, find more peace, confidence, and joy raising kingdom kids, then listen in. Come on, mama, together we got this. Really, God's got this. So go heat up that coffee again and turn your listening ears on. Let's chat. Hey, welcome back to Holistic Moms. I have very special guest with me tonight. I am having a conversation with a longtime friend, a mentor, a business partner, all the things. And so I'm so excited to introduce you all to my friend, Patrice. Patrice, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate and I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Yes, I'm so excited. Okay, so I've been wanting to have you on since I started this podcast because you have quite the story, and I'm all about sharing stories. and testimonies, because we know that with our testimony, we defeat the enemy. By the blood of Jesus and the word of our testimony, we defeat the enemy. And so I want to share as many amazing testimonies on this podcast as possible. So, and today would be Testimony Tuesday after all. So let's just share a great one tonight. So I've invited you on because I want you to share with the audience. I have a screaming child. I want you to share with the audience this amazing mission work that you're doing. But let's start with the testimony and how you've gotten from point A to point B, because I think a lot of times we just take that next courageous step, or I hope so, and we take it. And then after that, it leads us to another one and to this place that we never expected. But it was God, right? It was God's plan. After all, you can go back and you can look back and you can see, wow, God led me here, God led me there. And so I know God has led you to an amazing mission work. And so tell us a little bit about where you started and where you are now and what he has you doing.
Okay. Well, my background is in the beauty industry. I am an entrepreneur. I've opened several businesses, hair salons particularly. And I started there. My father was a hairstylist, so it's been in my DNA, I'll say, as a
Yeah.
creative, as an artist, and I love people. So I grew up Catholic, went to church. I believed in Jesus, but later on, I had a conversion in my life, and I gave my life to the Lord. So in that process, with my hair business, I was able to really see the benefit of marketplace ministry and be
Mm.
able to cultivate that with predominantly women, but I also did men clients and so on and so forth. Throughout those years, I ended up going to Bible school, really just selling out to hearing the direction of the Lord. That's just a little bit of a snippet of my background. But through that process, through the years, the Lord had actually called me to Los Angeles. I was living on the East Coast in Delaware. That's how we know each other, right?
Yes, go
And
Delaware.
yeah, and the Lord was calling me to Los Angeles, and took a little while, but I did go eventually, and I had many experience. I'm still in California as we speak, and the Lord took me through a journey. So through the process, I've done many aspects of ministry in terms of women, youth, inner healing, deliverance for years, and also still continued my trade in hairdressing and in the beauty industry. And through the process, how I ended up, the journey from point A to point B of where I am today has been pretty much an interesting one. Several years ago, I actually was doing ministry with the youth in California, and one of my mentees actually asked me to go on an outreach with her. She said it was in LA, and I said, sure, I'll go. And it was interesting because she said, Patrice, I would love you to go with me. You're not going to judge me. So I didn't know what I was even up for. And I said, okay. And she said, I'm going because my sister lives in Texas and she is a stripper. And I feel like God wants me to go to this outreach, and I need someone to go with me. And the outreach is an outreach to the strip clubs. And I believe if I go, somebody's going to send someone for my sister. And I said, sure, I'll go with you. And we went. It was very interesting and very eye-opening to me. And I ended up going out with the team. It is called Treasures, Harmony Dust. She is awesome, by the way. I love her. And that's actually how I started to see how God wanted me to be used to project my own ministry later on. So we went. That young lady never went again, but the Lord had me serving in that ministry for about a year in prayer and helping women. At the same time, ironically, I was asked, doing makeup and hair, by a friend that I worked with, to go on a set and do hair. And this set happened to be a porn set. And I was like, oh, absolutely not. I cannot do that. I'm a youth minister. I work in this aspect. There's no way I would ever do anything like that. And I was praying about it. She kept saying, oh, Patrice, please come with me. And I said, no, I cannot do that. And I was in prayer, and the Lord said, if you don't go, who am I going to send?
Mm.
And I was like, what? And I did pray about it. I was struggling with it. I called a few friends that just kind of with some counsel and wisdom, but I kept hearing the prompting of the Holy Spirit. If you don't go, then who am I going to send? Now, I say that I don't think everybody should go on a porn set or go into the strip clubs, because I don't believe everybody's called to that.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's specific things that we are called to. And I had confidence that I was called. And I also had intercessors and prayer warriors around me before I went in. And I did go, and it was eye-opening to me. There was 8 women, particularly. I did their hair. It was very interesting. It was very much like a traditional film set. We had the makeup room. We really didn't see anything that was going on. I was able to pray for some of the women, but that actually started my heartbeat to understand some of the things that these women were contending with. So meanwhile, I felt like the Lord was giving me a whole new aspect. He has me on this one ministry with treasures, going out to these women that were stripping. I'm on the porn set with these girls only that one time. That's all I needed to go. And one of the girls that I encountered really impacted me. She had alopecia, which is, I don't know if you know what alopecia is. It's where they have balding and spots. She was so stressed out. She had a 2-year-old she shared. And she ended up coming to visit me on in the hair salon later. She actually had the story. She was married to a youth leader's son. They moved to California. They ended up basically running out of money, not serving the Lord, and putting themselves in the porn industry. The husband saw an ad, and he basically thought, well, it's for 2 people to come in. He thought, well, let's go. We're married. Let's just go. And that's how they started their porn. What do I want to say? Their careers, we'll say, in the porn industry. Unfortunately, the story didn't end up well. We'll just say that. But this girl was already saved. She already knew the Lord. She understood the Holy Spirit, but somewhere along the journey, she ended up going down a dark path. So did her husband. God had me minister to her, and that really deposited in my heart the need and what was happening in our culture. And that was many years ago. Through that process, the Lord was showing me prematurely about trafficking and exploitation and youth and kids. And it just put me on a journey to just start ministering wherever I was and however I could, and with different people that were on the same mission. And at the time, you didn't hear about it much. A lot of people were like, oh, that's only in California. That's only in big cities. And I knew for a fact that was not true. But no one really had ears to hear until today. Now you're hearing it. It is a major problem. And that's how I ended up starting the Project Foundation. And the Project Foundation is a 501c3. We educate, empower to eradicate sexual exploitation and sex trafficking of women and children.
Okay, so basically God showed you where his people needed help and where they needed to be loved and ministered to and called you to it. What was the part? How did he speak to you that this is going to be a foundation? I need you to found something. I need it to be an organization that you are running it's a business. Like, how did he convey that to you where you're like, this, I feel this so strong. I need to do this work, but there's nowhere that just going to jump in, because I know other organizations, and you didn't just jump into another one and help them. How did he tell you, no, this is going to be just, I need you to start this one?
He actually, as I was serving in other aspects of ministry with other ministries that had, also did the same, and I'll say the same type of work, different aspects of assisting women, particularly. And I could see there was gaps. And in
Mm,
those gaps, the Lord kept speaking to me about one, starting with awareness. And so I really wasn't coming from a place of, like, Harmony Dust, who was amazing, had treasures. She came from that industry. So she really did a great job at outreach and had that. But there was so much more that at that time wasn't really addressed. So for me, as I just continued to pray and serve other people's ministry, I started to see where the Lord was wanting awareness,
mm,
prevention. And Shannon, prevention is really interesting. A lot of people are the hot topic is rescue a lot of times. When people think of sex trafficking, they have an idea that a child gets abducted and
mhm,
um, or they're in other countries. And although that is very true, that is not the only way. And today, that is actually the least of how it happens, if you want the truth.
mhm,
And so the Lord was really prompting me to share more, educate more, shed more of a light on it, so to speak, in the topic. And with youth, particularly young children, with the devices that they have, their gaming, their phones, their iPads, it's it's just increased over the years.
yeah. Okay, so the Project Foundation is focused on prevention and awareness. What do you actually do? What is the
So
actual work?
so interesting when you start working with trafficking and sexual exploitation. It's hard to there's so much, it's so
Mhm,
broad and so wide. And then if you have I'll say a victim or a survivor in front of you, it's hard to say no. So
mhm,
even though we started out in one lane, there's several aspects. So what we do, the reason it's called the Project Foundation, we have projects. One currently, for example, we are working on and have started is in New Mexico. It's with Native American um, community in Gallup, New Mexico, and we have a task force. So we actually build an infrastructure that helps a community. We educate the community, we bring the community together, and we have started a task force that we do hybrid Zoom and we have people on the in the land. We engage churches, leaders throughout that community and resources so that we can literally gather them together, because to combat sex trafficking, sexual exploitation, you need a large community, you need the resources. So the main thing that the Project Foundation does is educate, but we bring the community together to actually combat it. We don't carry every aspect of it. That's one. We also go into schools, we do assemblies, work with youth, and that's high schools as well as, the younger children. We've worked with junior high. We've also gone in, and it's a little difficult when you're working with younger, like I'll say from 10 years old, that age group, because it's an entirely different type of communication. However, it's important work and
mhm.
it's needed, especially with, young children with their devices. They're exposed to so many things. Even if you put the parental um, controls, sometimes they're not always operating with
Yeah.
excellence.
Yeah. So let's get into that because I did want to ask you about that. So there are a lot of amazing resources that have come out and have revealed to us lately, like movies, the seriousness of sex trafficking and how prevalent it is. And even that as a suburban mom, and we're not in a busy, even if you live in the suburbs, I don't know where you live as a listener, but no matter where you live, you, your child, even you yourself as a female, even males, I'm sure, can be sex trafficked and exploited. And so, can you just share with us a few
Mhm.
educational facts,
Yeah.
just enlighten us a little bit to the reality of the problem that a lot of us, being that a lot of those who listen to my podcast, we are managing our anxiety
Yeah.
and we're learning how to manage it with God at the center and how to do it with Him. And but part of anxiety is avoidance and avoiding things. And I don't want to personally avoid the problem. And it is scary to have girls that are coming of age and their body's changing and they're getting devices and you have to put the lockdown on everything. But the reality is there's still a problem that I cannot avoid. And can you just share with us anything that would help us to
Yeah.
realize that we can't avoid it and how we can, yeah, step in as parents?
Yes, I will, because that is truly my heartbeat. I want to backtrack a second. Our organization, we do work with survivors. We do many aspects. I don't want to do our organization a disservice, but to your point, as a mom, and um, my heart is to actually give the education to parents, leaders, youth leaders, mothers, fathers, I teachers, because our children, yeah, this has been a major challenge. And avoidance, when you brought up the word avoidance, it's very difficult because a lot of people don't want to hear it, or they say that can't happen to my child,
Yeah,
or that doesn't happen in my neighborhood, or
right.
whatever they say. So for me, it's very difficult. How do we reach the parents to have ears to hear and not avoid it, and give them the tools they need
Hmm.
to protect their children? Because ultimately this is affecting, like when I think of our devices, our phones, and they use the term in training, grooming. Well, even if your child has a game, for example, they're being groomed. They're already being groomed. The device is grooming. The perpetrator could present themselves, for example, as a child, and they're not. And perpetrators and groomers, they're going to wait. They wait. They develop a relationship to the point where, you know, your child may not tell you about them, or because they think they're safe in their mind. So as a parent, I would say, obviously we put controls on our devices, and there's some of them are, like, one is the top three right now. But again, I always say seek them out, look at them, check them out, because they're changing. One is called Family Keeper. It's very good. Bark is another one. I think it's called Aurora. So there's a couple. I would recommend searching that out. Personally, if you can, screen time, make sure you're checking your children's
Hmm.
screen time, what they're watching, check
Yeah.
out their games, play their games, and the more with them, actually, ask questions, continue to develop that relationship with your child and that open communication. Don't be afraid to talk to, just because you're avoiding it as a parent, we should really talk to our children about it, and keep that open dialogue with your child.
Yes. Devices are one way that we've heard in the news. And something else that we've heard in the news, speaking of it, you
Yeah.
think, well, this can't happen to my neighborhood. This can't happen to my town. And I will confess that I recently thought that because there was a story in the news where you've heard this happen in other busy cities and um, somewhere that's not your home, right? You've heard it happen. But in the news of our town, which I believe is a safe town in my mind and a family town, um, there was a family parked in Target's parking lot, and the mom put all the kids in the car and was returning the cart. Well, she must have left the keys in the car too. And she was returning the cart to where it belongs. And a woman, strange woman, hopped in her car and literally was about to pull away when the mom realized, ran back out to the car and was like, "What are you doing?" And she played it off like, "Oh, I thought this was my car," and jumped out and then jumped in a white van, no windows. I don't know what those are called, but those vans
Yeah.
picked her up real fast and rushed her off. So this woman was with that. So you knew that, I mean, this was a news story, but you knew that that is what's happening. And so I think, yes, we have to be very aware of what's going on our kids' screens and devices, but we have to be very aware of what's going on around us. But I don't want to instill fear in my listeners or myself. I
Yeah.
don't think we're supposed to live in a state of fear, but it's like a fine line between being educated on what the harms are and what could
Right.
happen and how to protect your family, but also to not live in fear.
Correct. I love how you just told that particular story because there's so many stories, and I don't want to induce fear, but we want to bring awareness and give the wisdom. I think, when we are living in some really dark times, obviously, you can see it all over the place, and we want to equip our children and empower our children to say no to, they used to have stranger danger kind of thing. Well, that's a whole new that story you told. That's a common story.
Mm-hmm.
That's not unusual. And I like how you said the white van, because there's kind of a stigma about a white van, but it's true. You know, people are making money off of children, and that's sad. I mean, that's horrific. It's unbelievable that people, and it, even the fact that you pointed out it's a woman, because sometimes I think we think, oh, it's a
Yeah.
woman. As a woman to a woman, we think women are maybe more safe than men sometimes, which is not true.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it is a woman.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be, I mean, we just have to use wisdom on every aspect, not fear, not instilling fear, but wisdom. How do we equip our children to be able to know that what to do in a circumstance like that?
Yeah. So
Talk
obviously,
about that. Yes, go ahead.
yeah. So obviously, as well, praying with them and praying over them and praying for them. But that's how we don't have a spirit of fear because we ask the Lord for his peace and his wisdom. And so, yes, educating the children, like we have to be careful. And there's people in the world that, don't want the best for us. And we have to be aware. Um, I don't even know, like we do tell our kids and we tell them, no one's supposed to, touch you or, that's, don't even talk that way. If anyone else talks that way around you, you don't, that's potty talk. We don't talk that way. Like certain things, but, I think I almost don't know if they saw a stranger because we've gotten to this point where it's rude not to say hi and it's rude not to like if someone's tricking you. Like they get really deceptive, right? When they're coaxing a kid in. So we've seen it like the candy and like we've seen the
Yeah,
ads or like they trick them. And so it's like what do you tell your kids? Like how do you really educate them on, and I just think the only way you can really do it is just to remind them to always be praying for God's protection and then to pray that over them as well.
definitely. I think prayer is one of the keys. and giving them God confidence, instilling that in them by not only praying over them, but praying with them, giving them the word of God, and then practical wisdom. If we're in a store, if somebody jumped in the car, what would we do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just if I'm just using your story, if,
Yeah.
obviously the we have a false sense of security sometimes when we walk away from our car, like as that lady did, and it's a false sense of security. And again, you just have to equip your children depending on their age, how much you let them do. So every child is different. I think even more difficulty becomes when, in some respects, are when your children start dating,
Mm-hmm.
and they start to hide those things from you when they get teenagers, or they don't want to tell you everything because of part of adolescent. When they become that age, I think that becomes more difficult. So the more we can communicate and have that dialogue when they're young and start that off, and keep communicating that they feel that they can always come to you, they can always talk to you as a parent, that then they feel safe, and that you have ears to hear. Because some parents, I mean, I've done this, I know we're busy, right? As a salon owner, a lot of times I had other people and I'd be like, wait. Well, I look back and go, wow, that could have, we all do it. But I think we have to be mindful of keeping that open conversation. And, I know I've only had one child, but who's now an adult. However, if you have multiple children, as you do, they have different personality types, right? So you have to kind of lean into, well, this one has this way, but you still are open and I believe God gives us the wisdom on each one of our children of how to communicate with them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy, but I think keep our eyes wide open. Unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but it's true, most of the perpetrators is someone they know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a stranger like the lady getting in the car. That's not necessarily the case on the majority of traffic victims. Sad to say, but it's true. When I say traffic victims, I'm going to say um, children that have been exploited, sexually assaulted. I just kind of put it all in that
Okay.
area. Unfortunately, they sometimes feel safe with the person, and not everybody's safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy task to communicate, because a lot of parents would, if a child did disclose, then, what do we do with that? We have to believe them. We have to address it. And, we need help to do that. That's what our organization and other resources are out there for parents to
Mm-hmm.
be able to handle a situation. One of the things that our organization does is we do education for parents. We do, we can do on Zoom. We've done on Zoom. We've partnered with other educators, and we've gone into schools. But I like talking to the parents, because it's kind of one of those things that I have a situation and then we can address how to handle that
Mm-hmm.
situation specific.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's good. So are there any other things that we need to be aware of that we might be avoiding or might just be ignorant to, that the new way, because I think these perpetrators are always coming up with new ways
Yeah.
to get a hold of these kids. So have you heard of any like new ways that we might not be aware of? Whether it is a particular game or a particular app on a device, or I don't know, any certain thing that you are aware of?
I think technology is so fast. And to be quite honest with you, I don't keep up with all of those. If I was having an educator come in, we'd make sure, let's say we were having moms on, moms and dads, I would make sure what's happening currently, what's the hottest games, and we would actually curate for what's happening now. But the changes are so fast. It's very difficult to keep up, even as a
Hmm.
parent.
Yeah.
So I think um, the key is don't avoid the conversations. Don't avoid the fact that it can happen to your
Hmm.
child. However, don't be afraid. Just be equipped, be aware. If your child's in a youth group, we'll say a Christian youth group, and sadly, know who's the teacher, know who's in the
Yeah.
room. Um,
Yeah.
you don't have to, you test people. I don't mean test them with your children. I'm just saying, like ask some questions of the leadership.
Yeah.
And I don't mean as I'm sharing with you, I hope I'm not instilling any kind of fear or wanting to avoid the topic. I think it's very simple. We want to just ask the questions, that we would ask who's driving who home. It depends on the age, right? Group,
Hmm.
who's going to be in the room. And then when the child gets home, ask the questions. We have the beauty of knowing Christ is we have discernment. The
Hmm.
Holy Spirit will give us discernment. That's
Yeah.
what we can't avoid. That's
Yeah.
the avoidance we should not avoid.
Yeah, that reminds me, back in January, I actually had my podcast mentor and business mentor, um, for podcasting on as a guest. And this is back in episode 27. And she was sharing a spiritual battle plan that she lives by. And it came from the fact that her son at the time was 9, I believe, and came across porn on his device, and it he's just literally stumbled upon it, and he was scared about it, and but felt comfortable coming to his mom and saying, "I'm so sorry." He was so distraught. I didn't mean to. This is what happened. And then she was able to talk to God about it and say, God, what do I do? I don't know what to do now. What do I do? How do I handle this? Um, how do I protect him from this in the future? But also, now is he scarred forever, And he gave her a battle plan. So if you guys want to listen to that, that's back in episode 27. And it's really amazing conversation. But, and I mean, she thought the same thing. Like, we have and they had all the protection on their devices. Like, how did this happen? We have a Christian family, a Christian community. How did this happen? And I mean, and I know like my husband has a story similar. Like, there's so many people that we know around us that they just stumble into it. And so what can we do, once we're aware, once we maybe have something happen or a child comes to us with a conversation, um, or you know maybe we have a heart for this. What can we do as like a next step to help the person? Or yeah, maybe it's a trusted another mom comes to us and say, this happened to my son or this happened to my daughter, and or it's with your own. Like, what can we do at that point?
Yeah, I think you just nailed it right there. Having community that you can talk to, that you've built relationship and friendships with, um, that like that open dialogue with feeling safe. You're not exposing your child, but we're all parents are dealing with so many issues today. You can put all the devices on and then porn pops up.
Hmm.
The situations of what they're teaching in school nowadays are
Yeah.
questionable. So I think having a strong community that we can trust and dialogue with, that we can, have these kind of conversations, because not one person has all the answers, and there's so many different types of stories of how this can happen. And I love you sharing about the battle plan that that woman had. That's amazing, because God gives us wisdom, and then even to engage with tools such as hers, because this is happening to a lot of our children.
Hmm. Yeah.
Parents, we need to take that responsibility um seriously on this is happening. And they could go to another friend's, you could put all the lockdowns and another parent not. So I think it's knowing your community, and having those open conversations with your community.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so as we wrap up here,
Mhm.
how can we get involved if God has put a little spark in our heart for this ministry, for this mission, for just this problem that we have in our world, or just that we want to protect our children and we want to support um, foundations that do that with this awareness? But also, I know you work with survivors too, and we want to support them. So, how can we get involved and how can we support the Project Foundation?
So for the Project Foundation, you can actually go to www.theprojectfoundation.org.
Okay.
We have an area that you can just reach out to us and we'll communicate back if you have an interest, if you want to have an educator come out, if you want to do a Zoom meeting. We're pretty open. If you have a need, we'd like to fulfill the need in any
Awesome.
area. And we pretty much have resources. We work in collaboration with several different organizations, faith communities, HSI. So we have a we have a huge bank of resources to fulfill different needs. So reach out. We're pretty
Okay.
accessible. That's one. We definitely need donors, supporters, people to volunteer. You can share that way. If you want to be an advocate or a trainer for other moms and dads, as I don't want to just say it's moms because it's parents,
Yeah.
leaders, we can help equip you for your community and even start a small group of moms helping moms, for example,
Okay.
with that. So it's really just reaching out, giving us a little bit of background on what you need, and we will, if we can't fill it, we'll find somebody. And, I just want to add this in, there's plenty of different organizations that help with sex trafficking and sexual exploitation and even issues with men with porn. So with this aspect, you can go in and serve and help as the Lord leads you. With ours, we love collaborating and kind of pointing you in a direction. If we can't serve in one aspect, we can help direct you if there's something you need. If your husband, will say, is struggling, or now women and men are struggling with porn, we can give some resources to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. And then I know that you have a somewhat of a fundraiser going on right now, a special place
Mhm.
that we can donate.
Yeah.
So can you share with us what that is?
Yes, we started a program. It's called Adopt a Woman, and it's assisting survivors. So we work with survivors, and doTERRA, the essential oil company, is doing a match. We only have a few more days left.
Yes.
I think it ends on the 30th. I think we're down to 9 days.
Well, when this airs, the day that this is out, we are at June 25th. So we have 5 days. You can donate by June 30th, correct?
Yes, correct.
To where do we go to donate?
I don't know if you can show them a link. Can you put a
We can
link?
put a link in the show notes.
Or you
Yes.
could go right to our website
Okay.
you want, and it goes right through doTERRA,
Okay.
and they match it. That particular grant goes straight away to assisting the survivors. And yeah, we have some survivors that we help and they have different needs. Some of them have children themselves and need some assistance, and this would help us help them. And
Yeah.
that is a huge thing because usually they're the ones that can advocate and train for parents like yourself.
Yeah. So it's kind of like adopt a woman is meaning you are donating your funds to support that woman. Just think of it as an actual woman in her survival needs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, that is amazing. I will put the link in the show notes and we will, as a community, hopefully support and donate and raise
Yeah.
some funds to help that that organization, well, your whole organization, but that project um, exactly.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Yes. Well, thank you for Patrice for being on. So I usually ask the guests where they can get in touch with you, but I know you're not too keen on social media, but where people could get in touch with you would be the Project Foundation.
Yes, and you can actually, if you wanted to reach out to me on an email, I'm
Yeah,
happy to answer that. And it's Patrice at the Project Foundation. And just let me know, just put a little thing in that you were on, maybe a little note
that
that
you're on the
on the
listen to the podcast.
holistic moms. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So awesome. I will also put your email in the show notes. And yes, just thank you so much for being here and enlightening us on all of this and just sharing your story because again, testimonies are where it's at. And then once we know where that person has come from and now why they're doing the mission work, we can really get behind that. And like I said, God can spark our heart to get involved and um, maybe just someone listening just now feels they need to get involved in this same work. So thank you for
Oh,
sharing your story.
I think once it gets revealed, you can't turn your back on it. I think that's what happened to me. Once I started to see things that were happening and in different people's lives and people started sharing their stories, I could no longer turn my back. So I pray I didn't instill any fear in any of you mamas, but just made you aware. We do have a God that actually protects our children and helps us and assists us to discern. But I would say, this is a real thing and it's happening,
Yeah,
and we want to put an end to it.
that's right.
So
Again, thank you so much for sharing all of this. And I know it's blessed the mama listening. And yeah, we look forward to hearing more about what the Project Foundation is up to and how we can get involved and maybe bring it to our mom communities.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at the Shan Wright so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace. go right now to www.theshanwright.com/coaching and let's do it.